Doctor Who, Series 9, Worst to Best. Hello and welcome to the first in a possible new series, examining Doctor Who seasons, or various other things, parts of Doctor Who, from worst to best. I think I've done, worst to best 80s seasons. I can't remember whether I did anything else. Did I do the 70s? It's so long ago. Anyway, I thought I'd take on Series 9, since, although I've mentioned that I have warmed to the Capaldi era a bit more, the only real kind of review of Series 9 I did was, early 2017? It wasn't very flattering. No, really, go watch it. It's vicious. And I've kind of changed my mind in a lot of ways. Not all, but a lot. So I thought I'd kind of do a re-review, but do it in a different way, from worst to best. Now, in my opinion, worst episode, the worst story of Series 9 is the opening two-parter, The Magician's Apprentice, or The Witch's Familiar, whatever the hell it's called, the Dalek story. It's awful. I've never actually been able to sit through the whole thing. On a recent try, given I've been kind of reevaluating the era, I managed to make it to part 2, but within about 5-10 minutes I was like, good God, I just can't take any more of this. It's so bad. It's so bad. The characters are just, oh God. Kate is wooden. Clara's at her most insufferably annoying, as is Missy. And we start off with Capaldi, doing a guitar on a tank in medieval times or something. What the fuck is that all that about? And plus we get, oh God, we get all, Moffat reusing his favourite trope of the Doctor's gonna die this year. No, really, honest. It's the end of the show, really. But it's just so bad on almost every level. Just watching the first episode alone would have put you in the bad mood for the rest of the season, really. So I can kind of understand. Yeah, I have not changed my mind on this one, folks. It's freaking awful. Okay, next. Hellbent. The finale. It's pretty bad. Basically, in fact, it's pretty awful. In fact, the only reason it's not completely down with the opening two-parter is A, it's only one episode, and B, it's got Maisie Williams in it, so that gives it an extra little point. Wait a minute, let's do this properly. How many stories are there in Series 9? There's 1, there's 2. Do we count the girl who died and the woman who lived as 2 stories, or 1? That's a good question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 10, I think, counting it as 2. Okay, so number 8. Number 8, I would probably say, is The Woman Who Lived. It's an interesting idea. It's not a particularly good episode. I don't dislike it. I don't hate it. I could probably watch it again. I like Maisie Williams, so I can happily watch that. Then again, that didn't exactly. Well, I didn't sit through. I didn't sit through any of, apart from season 1 of Game of Thrones. That wasn't enough. It's okay. The idea is more interesting than the execution. I also think they made a mistake having The Woman Who Lived straight after the girl who died. It would have made more sense to have had at least 1 episode in between, if not a 2-parter, and then go back to it. Because if it's an attempt at a 2-parter, how is it a 2-parter just because it's the same character in it? It's not a 2-parter, dude. Do we even know what a 2-parter is, Moffat? No, never mind. 7, I guess, is The Girl Who Died, which I think is slightly better than The Woman Who Lived. I hated this on first viewing. I don't mind it now. It's easily Jamie What's-His-Face's weakest script. When you look at Romeo and the Orient Express and Flatline and Oxygen, they're light years ahead of this. So I know this is partly Moffat. I don't really get what happened here. It's not, but I don't hate it. It's watchable in a dumbass kind of a way. And again, I like Maisie. I think she's probably better in this than she is in the next one, mainly because the character's probably more easily relatable. I think it's a big ask asking her what? How old was she when she made this? 18? To play an immortal? Difficult enough to ask anybody to play that kind of character. Whereas in The Girl Who Died, she's just obviously supposed to be an ordinary girl. Ordinary as far as Vikings go. I don't mind it. It's fun. I do like Moffat. Trolling us by throwing in that little line from Clara, implying she fancies her. Yeah, well, can't blame her. What was it? I'll fight you for her. 6. This is a tough one. 6. The Zygoon two-parter, I would say, I think, is at number 6. Again, this is one I really didn't like. I think I didn't watch more than about 10 minutes of it first time around. I'm not a big fan of Modern Unit. I don't hate them quite as much. I still think Kate is just kind of dull. It's also something of a mystery as to why all the senior positions in Unit are now filled by women. It seems really unrealistic for a military organization, but there you go. It wouldn't be so bad if, Kate had a personality. She's not exactly oozing Nicholas Courtney charm, is she? And again, I think doing this kind of story with the Zygons and really defanging one of the scariest one-off monsters in the whole of Classic Who is a mistake. But I don't mind it. It's watchable. Again, I think I've just warmed somewhat to Capaldi a lot more. Even Clara's kind of bearable here. I mean, Clara is an odd one because I don't mind the actress and she's very cute. It's just the character just doesn't work, does she? And I don't know why. I don't know what went wrong with her because I adore Amy. I don't even mind Bill. Generally speaking, I like the companions in the Moffat era far more than I do those in the Davis era. Clara just doesn't work, and I don't really think it's the fault of the actress. Oh well, whatever. Like I said, she's okay here. I like the twist. The cliffhanger of part 1 is cool. It's okay. What are we on now? 5? Is it 5? I don't know. Sleep No More. I like Sleep No More. This was another one. I really didn't give it a fair lick the first time around. I was kind of like rolling my eyes at the found footage thing, which was like 10 years overdue, And I'd heard some of the stupid stuff about what the monsters are made of, which also kind of made me roll my eyes and like, really? I still kind of roll my eyes and go, really? But it's not a bad episode, actually. It's quite a good, scary, atmospheric episode. I don't mind it. The found footage riff actually seems wholly unnecessary. The story itself would probably be better served without it. I'm not sure it really needs it. I do like the dark ending. I don't mind it. Sleep No More. It's okay. It's one of Gaddis's better efforts. It's not one of my absolute favorite. It's not my absolute favorite of his. I think that's Crimson Horror. But yeah, I don't mind it. It's okay. What are we on now? I think I've messed this up completely. I think this is 3 now, isn't it? 3. Unless I'm missing something out, I don't think so. 3. Now this is a tough one. This is a strange one. I'm gonna have to give 3 to Heaven Sent. I know a lot of people absolutely adore this episode. I absolutely hated it first time around, but again, I was really just not. I was just not into this season at all. Or this era at the time, and I was just, Didn't find any of it all that interesting. Watching it again last year, I actually really enjoyed it. I'm still not sure it quite deserves some of the exaltation that some fans give it. Stephen Moffat's masterpiece. I'm not sure it's really that up there. But I did enjoy it a hell of a lot more last year than I did back in the day. And I was wrong. Hey, see? I can fully admit when I was wrong. I actually don't mind Series 9 now. Apart from like the opening two-parter and the finale and, the arc. It's kind of shit what arc there is. But individually, on a story-by-story basis, most of them are at least watchable, if not very enjoyable. So I prefer it to Series 8. I think I prefer it to Series 7. And then I've warmed on that a little bit more. Anyway, 2, I guess I'd give... I think I'd give Face the Raven. And not just because it's Maisie Williams again. I actually like this one. This was one of the few episodes, if not the only episode of Series 9 that I actually really liked on first viewing. I actually thought this was really good the first time, and I still think it's a really decent slice of urban fantasy. And it's a nice setup for the build-up to the finale as well. I still think Moffat's obsession with making every episode of a multi-parter completely different to the other ones is just really weird and doesn't work and comes across as being really forced a lot of the time. But I do like Face the Raven. I think it's a nice atmospheric story. The callback to Flatline is a nice touch as well. Yeah, really enjoy this one. My favourite story of the season, however, I think is the Under the Lake two-parter, which I actually watched again just this last weekend. I watched it Sunday night. And I've seen that a few times. That's not one that I've, only just seen again. I think the first time around I liked episode 1 and then just kind of drifted off on episode 2, mainly because of reusing some of the tropes with the time travel, which just kind of bored the shit out of me the first time. I still think part 2 is not quite as good as part 1. I still think the Base Under Siege stuff is more effective than getting into the time travel stuff, though I do find the bootstrap paradox pretty amusing. Again, yeah, generally speaking, it's a very good story. It's one of my favourite Capaldis. Capaldi's great in it. Even Clara's pretty likeable in this one, which is nice because, like I said, I don't have anything against the actress, and she's very pretty. It's just the character often rubs me the wrong freaking way a lot of the time, whereas in here she's generally pretty likeable. The bit with the cards is also pretty funny as well. The bit with his flashcards to know what to say to people. I could do with some of that. Yeah, generally speaking, I like Under the Lake. Yeah, you have to kind of wonder, who thought Chris Chibnall would be a good idea as showrunner? I know this is off on a tangent, but it's like, I would much rather have had Toby Whithouse or Mark Gatiss. Not to say that either of them is perfect or with a 100% track record, but the track record is still a lot better than Chinball, which is basically a 100% shite. So I don't really understand what the fuck was being thought there, other than that he did Broadchurch, therefore he must be perfect, even though Broadchurch was pretty fucking overrated as well. Literally, I turned off halfway through season 1. It's the most boring murder mystery I've ever seen, and I like murder mysteries. It was the dullest structured murder mystery I'd ever seen. I think literally the only reason that show was successful was because of the actors, Tennant and Coleman, because it wasn't well written. Anyway, sorry, off on a tangent there. Yeah, I think The Under the Lake is my favourite of the season. So yeah, generally speaking, I mean, it's not a bad hit rate for a season that I really, despised the first time. Though again, I think I'd been losing interest in general. Series 7, I think Series 9 suffered for me because of series 7 and 8, really. And I mean, I've warmed to them a little bit more, but I still think they're the weakest of the Moffat era. Even though I like some of the episodes more than I did then, I still think they're kind of the weakest of the era. Series 9, again, I think it's a shame that Series 9 is kind of hamstrung by the arc, which is just so tenuous as to be boring. The whole the Doctor's gonna die thing again, it's like fucking depressing. Do we need it? It's not interesting. And just that opening two-part is just god awful. But generally speaking, other than that, I like the season. I'm warming a lot to the era. That's an interesting thought. I mean, I did a grudge match a few years ago where I kind of admitted that I prefer the Matt Smith era to the Davison era. Actually, I think I prefer it to Colin as well. Do I prefer the Capaldi era to the Davison era? Ooh, that's interesting. I might have to do a video on that sometime. Because I have kind of gone off the Davison era a lot. I've never been a massive fan, but I am finding it a bit of a struggle these days because of it's so plasticky. Whereas I'm warming a lot more to the Capaldi era. Oh well, that's a story for another time. Generally speaking, I quite like Series 9 now. Anyway, that's enough for this week. I hope you enjoyed me rambling on. Bye for now.